Marq,
and together
we are the Redmonds.
Welcome to another episode of Meet the Redmonds. Before we get started, take a look at the bottom of your screen. There is an important website address. It is redmondprojects.com. It is where we have our two books housed, and you can certainly purchase those. One is Revelations of a Real Man or Woman, or Finally I Do Again. That's our current book that talks a little bit about our Christian experience, how we came together as a couple, and how we like to live with a little bit of fun and a whole lot of love.
One of the things we want to profess to our viewers is that me nor Beverly are marriage counselors,
Gurus,
relationship gurus, life coaches. Who we are is Marq and Beverly. And we're sharing with you experiences that we've encountered that has made our journey as a married couple just so entertaining. And I tell people all the time, this is the best time of my life. I'm having so much fun.
Absolutely. We have been through a lot of challenges, but we've also seen a lot of successes. You always say that, reading through our stories, sharing time with us will make you laugh, will make you shed a tear a little bit, but make you remember if you have been married for quite a long time or in a relationship, wherever you are, single, divorced, this particular podcast and the books will certainly be relatable to you. They are easy reads. They were designed that way, and you can throw it in your tote bag or your backpack, sip a little bit of tea, coffee,
and just have a good time.
Absolutely.
Now, we also want you to participate in this journey with us. And in order for you to participate, you got to do your homework.
No.
So you got to make sure that, now that's the college instructor in me and the school administrator and you got to do your homework. So in order to do your homework, you got to have your materials. So your materials are 2 books, Revelations of a Real Man or Woman and Finally Do Again. They can, again, like my wife said, you can go to Redmond Projects, all one word, REDMOND, and then the word projects.com. Click on shop and get your books. Also, we want to hear from you. You can email us at sknv123@yahoo. Again, that's S as in
Sam,
K as in
Kit,
N as in
Nancy,
V as in
Victor,
123@yahoo.
Yes.
Last week we introduced our questions from the cookie jar segment.
Those of you who watched may have seen this.
And eventually we're going to get a real deal cookie jar.
We're on a budget.
Right.
This is our first production. Yes.
This is our second.
Second?
This is our second episode,
This is our
right?
second episode, but this is our first show.
Okay, I got you. And we were fortunate enough to get a question from one of our new family members. So you're gonna go ahead and pull it, okay?
Yes.
And who is that from? I think it's from Alicia Johnson from Illinois.
Hey, Alicia.
And she asked us what inspired us to become authors.
Yes, what inspired us to become authors? So we're gonna take you down memory lane. What's that song? Back down memory lane. Who sang that?
Denise Williams.
See, we are old school music fans, so you'll hear us burst into song pretty poorly from time to time, but you'll hear us singing.
I have a great singing voice.
All right, let's get started.
Okay. Last week I made mention that I'm an amputee, and that's what really was the genesis of us becoming authors. I was in a nursing home rehabilitating, having to learn how to walk again and just take everything for granted. And I was just in a real bad place. I didn't want to be there, first of all. And I just think I didn't need to be there.
Right.
I was by far probably one of the youngest people in there. I was 43, 44 at the time.
Yes.
So I'm thinking, big, strong, viral man. Viral, right? big, strong, virile man like me, I can go through these rehab protocols and be home quick. That was not the case. What I thought was going to be maybe a week or maybe two wound up being 2 months.
Yes.
And if you spent any time in a rehabilitation center or nursing home, it is not the best place to be. And at that time, I didn't have the kind of insurance that would afford me to go to some places that were maybe a little bit more
exclusive,
maybe more exclusive,
private.
more right.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a roommate, and he was an older gentleman, and it was just rough,
Mm-hmm.
and my demeanor was not the best.
It was tough.
So I began barking at not just the caregivers there at the facility. I started barking at my children, barking at you, and I was just really being a total malcontent. And I remember what you said to me. You said you need to do something because you were getting on everybody's nerves. The kids come up here to see you, you snapping on them. I come, you come to see me after being on the road for hours, and I'm snapping on you, and it's just not you got to get yourself together. So at the time, me and Beverly were dating, and we weren't married, and I really didn't want to lose this woman. So I began taking to heart some of the things you started to tell me, and I got my pen, and I just went to the beginning, and just did a mental Rolodex of where my life has been and where it's heading. And the amazing thing is God started moving the pen, and words became sentences, sentences became paragraphs, paragraphs became chapters, chapters became an entire book. And I literally wrote most of that book in the nursing home. And got out of the nursing home, got better, came home, went back to work, started working at City Colleges of Chicago. I had been in education almost 25 years, so I was eager to get back, met some fantastic people, fantastic students, and we got married, and we continued our journey of writing, and we were introduced to so many people, and it was just outstanding. And your family was so instrumental because they really came in and took me in and embraced me, your mother, your father, your sisters, your brother, and I just thankful.
Absolutely. From my perspective, where we were when we started writing, I would say we're accidental authors, everybody. It wasn't a plan, as Marq is describing. It was something born out of necessity. I don't know that I thought so much that you were a malcontent. I understood where the frustration was going. I was just out of ways and options to keep you encouraged. So one of my prayers was out of desperation, just, Lord, give me something that will help him. One, stick through the therapy process because it was not easy mentally or physically. And then two, something that would lift your spirits and let you know that an end is in sight. And I didn't know that the journaling would turn into what it is. I would see pieces of paper here, there, and we were collecting them. And I sat down and I saw that something was really coming out of this. I said, maybe this is a book. And to be fair and very clear, we both have education on our side, but neither one of us have been exposed to a publishing process.
Right.
There was nothing like that in our path. Maybe in the back of my mind, I thought about writing a book one day.
It was just, and we would read and we would say, wait a minute, I think we got something here.
Yes.
This is pretty good. So the true test of whether or not this was really viable, we started reaching out to authors, other people who had just published books. And one of the first people we ran across, well, actually, one of the first people we ran across was Deborah Rhodes.
Yes.
She had an annual authors brunch held in Chicago every year, and I just went by happenstance.
Not quite by happenstance.
Oh, really?
No. We heard, at least I heard on the radio, that there was going to be an author's brunch at the Oaklawn Hilton. For those of you who may be familiar with the Chicago Evergreen Park area, there was going to be an author's brunch. And sincerely, Mark, at the time that we had come together, we were fresh into marriage, and I don't know that we had enough for 2 tickets to this brunch.
Yeah, I don't think we had 2 nickels that we could rub together.
Nope. So, we can get into all of that, how we got together in a different episode. But going to that brunch with Deborah.
Well, that'll be the finance episode.
Yes.
Right.
If you can't get 2 tickets, send 1 and a prayer. you can do something. So getting everything together that we knew.
You sent me, exactly.
Yes.
There we go. Mm-hmm. You sent me, and I went, and I met Deborah, and I met some other people, and I was just so in awe of their stories and their journeys. And then I met a young lady named Patricia McClure, Cheshire.
Yes.
And she had a table.
Yes.
At the Arthur's brunch.
And she was, I would say, slick with, that's where we learned about presentation.
Right, exactly.
How to present, yes.
Well, we learned presentation from Patricia and Deborah.
Yes, both of
them. And, what to do, what not to do. And we're still learning. We were still learning. We were neophytes in this journey. And I got Patricia's information, and I asked her, I'm going to send you a copy of my manuscript. I would love if you took a look at it and read it and tell me what you think. And she was gracious enough. And mind you, she didn't know me from a hole in the wall.
Anyone.
And she took my manuscript and she read it. And we knew, okay, as a faith-based book and with our connections with growing up in church, this is where we're going to go.
Yes.
And our next stop was my home church, Emmanuel Baptist Church, where the iconic Reverend L.K. Curry was the pastor, and he reached out and let us have a book signing, and that went monumentally well. And from there, we just took off and we started doing things in the city.
Remember our first, I would say it was one of our book launch events. We certainly went to church, but we did something at one of your city college's sites. Remember? You remember this. We thought we were going to, it was one of the college sites. We thought we were going to sell out, folks. We thought we were going to.
Truman!
Yes.
Right.
Yes. We thought we were going
Truman
to
College.
sell out and pack out the place. The one lesson that we truly learned is pacing. Everyone wants to be a New York Times bestseller, and not saying that you can't do that. Always keep that as your goal. But remember, you sell one book at a time. And Deborah taught us this. Always bring your things with you. Always be prepared to sell.
Right. And we learned some hard lessons too. Remember we bought t-shirts?
These things that you see.
These are exclusive. These are exclusive.
These are now upon request kinds of items, things that we will sell from time to time. But can you imagine getting on planes, getting in cars, toting not only your books, the banners, everything that you own, as well as a gaggle of t-shirts. We were weighted down. It took us almost 2 years to sell all the t-shirts.
And we didn't even think about shipping, sending things ahead of time, only taking enough. We would take our whole inventory.
Everything that we had, and we had to bring whatever we did not sell
back.
And some days things rolled very quickly. Now, we were always engaging, always out there doing our work, but selling 30, 40 books in a day was actually a good thing.
Right. But I think the thing that kept us afloat is even if we went to these book fairs and book festivals, we always tried to end up at somebody's church that Sunday in hopes of selling them, having a book signing.
Yes.
And then that took us to, we did some things in Indianapolis, your hometown. You knew a real estate agent there. What was his name?
The Griffins.
Right.
He's now the deputy mayor in Bloomington.
Okay,
Yes.
well, we got to reach out to him.
Absolutely.
Right. And we went there, and then we hooked up with a good friend of mine, Lindsey Jones, who is a pastor in Memphis, Tennessee, and he hooked us up with the pastor of Riverside Baptist Church, Pastor Reginald Boyce, and that was our first kind of mega church type event.
It's a larger church, yes.
We did quite well, but we were quite tired. That was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work, but you do have to know that it's a labor of love. If your passion doesn't continuously energize you, then you need to examine why you're doing it. And 2 books in now, still as excited, much more knowledgeable, but still as excited as the first time that we sold our first book.
And then from Memphis, we wound up we went to Richmond.
Yes.
Which we had a great time. That was a very eventful trip.
That was
we got to meet some people. You had a chance to interact with a young lady who was hearing impaired.
She's deaf. Yes. So my sister Angela is also deaf. So it was just good to see families and work together and to talk about the books and reading. So to our families out there who are deaf or hard of hearing, we're certainly going to work very hard to make sure that we up our game in terms of closed captioning. We say we love you to everyone. Real Christians deserve real stories. Real people have real abilities, and we need to serve them. So I would be remiss to the young lady that we met and also to my own sister if we did not try to do better by our families who have disabilities.
All right, so be on the lookout for our closed caption feature that we will put into place
as soon as we can.
Then we left Richmond. We went to Atlanta a couple of times where we, just this past couple of weeks ago, we went to the Black Women's Expo, and we were able to have a feature there, and we wound up ending that trip with a trip to Cornerstone Baptist Church.
I think it's Peachtree, Georgia. Is that
Fayetteville, Georgia, with our good friend, Pastor Augustus Toby Curry, which is the son of Pastor L.K. Curry.
Yes.
Now, those relationships with other pastors and ministers opened our doors to go to places we didn't even think about. One of those places was Utah. Salt Lake
City. And let me tell you, we challenged ourselves. What I knew or thought I knew about Salt Lake City, all I thought I knew was Winter Olympics and
Mormons.
And I will tell you, yes, in fact, there are people in the Mormon faith and Mormon tradition there. However, it was one of the nicest places that we've been.
It was actually a pretty cool place. If you haven't been to Salt Lake, go. It's the scenery is beautiful.
It's pretty epic.
But a funny story how we got hooked up going to Utah was with our home pastor, Pastor Garth again. He is frat brothers with Pastor O.T. Moses.
Yes.
So I was introduced to him with our first book. Fate would have it that he became pastor of Calvary Church, Baptist Church in Salt Lake, right before we wound up moving
to Seattle. Yes.
And Seattle and Salt Lake our plane ride tops. So once we got up here, we kind of connected.
Mm-hmm.
We told him we were in Seattle. He said, "Oh man, I'm in Salt Lake. Let's hook up." We got a chance to go down there, and we had a great time.
We had a good time, and we promised them that we would return, and that is going to be on our list. And I will just say, God's hand has moved, and I would also add that connections count, networking counts. One door opens another. So if you are an entrepreneur, and we never thought of ourselves as going to be entrepreneurs, work. Put yourself out there, even when you don't feel like it. I don't know that I think we're pretty much homebodies. We like to be at home, introverts perhaps. This is the most gregarious that we're going to be, and it pushes us. But even when it pushes you, go. Even when it pushes you, make that moment count.
And make sure that you surround yourself with a good group of friends that you can network,
friends, yes.
and that will help you network.
Mm-hmm.
One of my good friends, Pastor Marcus D. Cosby of the Wheeler Avenue Church in Houston, Texas, we did a book fair in Houston. We reached out to Pastor Marcus and said, "Hey, we're in town. Can we do something impromptu?" And you'll be surprised. Most times you'll get a yes. Sometimes you'll get a no.
Or a wait.
Mm-hmm. But, me and Pastor Cosby go back almost 40 plus years of friendship. So I knew my guy was going to take care of me.
He was going to come.
Right. But not just that, my whole crew are just good guys, good stand-up guys that I know I can count on.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a group of good people too.
I have an awesome group. Members of the Divine Nine, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I was fortunate to become a member in 2017.
Don't ask me.
You were there. 2017, right before Revelations of a Real Man came out. I believe intake ended one day, and the next day we had our book signing that we were opening up to the world as authors at the same time. So it was a memorable week. But on my intake group, there are 24 young ladies, and they absolutely have been family to me, and they opened their arms up so much that they made Chicago, which was new to me at the time, feel very much more like home. I cannot say enough about them. My own charm, Renee, one of my besties, Naomi out there. Can't forget Lorenza. Cannot forget Chanel. So many.
You're not going to go through the whole 24
I'm not going to
list,
list the whole 24, but I love you, new class. I absolutely love you. So, again, your network, your family, your friends, all of those folks really do help support you and lift you along a journey such as writing a book.
Outstanding. So hopefully that will answer your question, Alicia, as to what inspired us to write. Now, we were going to introduce another segment called Christian Corny Joke of the Day.
Oh my.
So I'm trying this out today. If it gets shot down and you never see it again, the CEO has made the final decision.
Let's hear it. What you got?
Okay, so you ready for my joke today?
I'm here.
Men, you should always make your wife tea or coffee. Do you know why?
Why?
Because it's in the Bible.
It's biblical?
Yes.
Coffee's biblical.
Yes.
Okay.
You know why?
Why?
Hebrews. Boom! Shazam! I'll be here all week. Get it? Hebrews.
If you like that segment, you let us know. SK.
Please keep it. I need it.
SKNV123@yahoo.com. If that's a segment that you'd like to see, or if you would like him to go back to the drawing board with his dad jokes, let us know. Please know that we love you. We appreciate you.
And remember, it is not her way.
It's not going to be his way.
It's the Redmond way. Peace and blessings.
See you next week. Bye.